Welcome back to The Pulse. We're about to jump into our Heart of the Swarm discussion. The beta recently ended, and you know, in recent weeks, we have been sharing our opinions on the balance and the gameplay and what we think, but the whole community always says, I want to hear what the pros have to say. Well, today we have a treat for you. Joining us is our panel of pro gamers. On screen right now, Samuli Fuser Rompanelli, the Finnish Terran player. How are you, Fuser?
I'm doing fine. Kinda hungry. You need to tell your girlfriend to make more food.
What the hell, man?
She had a long night at work.
It's not my girlfriend's job to cook for you. Get up. Cook your own damn food. Ungrateful Finn. Also on the panel, Michael Gosu user Dobler. How are you, Gosu user?
Hello. I'm good, I guess.
You're looking a little foggy there.
I am.
Okay, sorry. I think it's just the humidity. And last on the panel, everybody's favorite hater, Johan Todd Merlo.
What's up,
Todd?
man?
How are you doing, buddy?
What's up, Agent Smith? Where are your glasses? Nice haircut.
Yeah, thanks, man. I worked on it for hours this morning.
I bet.
I've sent you guys a bunch of questions just about Heart of the Swarm. We're going to go through the discussion points in just a moment. But before we do, I would just like to get each of your general opinions about Heart of the Swarm. Do you like it? Is it fun? And is it going to be good for the community? Go ahead, Todd.
Me first. Okay. I definitely like it. I feel like once you play Heart of the Swarm for like 2 weeks, there is no way you can go back to Wings of Liberty just because it feels better in every single way. There is the new units. You feel like there's new features. At least I play only Protoss, so I cannot speak for the other races, but I'm assuming it's the same. So with all the new units, we have the Mothership Core and everything. I feel like you need more groups. It feels like a challenge, like a new game, a new improved game. So yeah, I've definitely been enjoying it a lot. Although I struggle in Protoss versus Terran, especially, it's been feeling good, and I've been playing a whole bunch. I was trying to go high in Grandmaster, but since it's global server, there's like a whole bunch of Koreans, and I was like thinking, oh, I'll just take top 10 or like even rank 1. Right? Wrong. I just got as high as top 60, and then I was like kind of stuck in there. So that's also really cool, like the way the global server is. You don't have much like playing with anybody really, and it's been tons of fun. So I really hope it stays like this, the global server play.
I wouldn't get your hopes up too much, as we do have regional servers for a reason. But congratulations on that top 60 in the beta. Fuser, how you feeling about Heart of the Swarm?
I think it's fantastic. Finally, I can beat Zerg.
Okay. Well, that's very concise.
Yes.
So can everyone else, though.
So can everyone else, says Ghosty User. Well, what are your thoughts there, Mike, as we're about to just go ahead and jump into the discussion? Why don't you tell us how you're feeling about the game?
I actually like it a lot. Like everyone else said, I can't go back to Wings of Liberty that much after playing HotS. And I don't think balance is actually as bad as other Zerg players think, even though Zerg is a bit weaker.
Cool. Well, that's good.
I guess I can still go back to Wings of Liberty a little bit because I win more, so...
Well, that's why we have you on the show here, Mike, to share those opinions. This is the way the conversation is going to work. I'm going to be pitching questions to you guys. Our casters here will occasionally be interjecting, but for the most part, I want the discussion to be candid amongst you pros because y'all are the ones we want to be hearing from. We're going to start with some discussion about Terran versus Zerg, and a hot topic recently has been Reapers. Andre has put some data down for me, which is really fun. A Zerg player that opens hatch first into, say, a 16 spawning pool, which is fairly standard, will find himself in the unfortunate situation against a Terran player who decides to go Reapers of being forced to deal with 4 Reapers before he has a Spine Crawler, before he has any Queens. Is the Reaper a problem in Terran versus Zerg? We'll start with you, Ghost User.
Maybe. I think we can't say for sure yet. Because the only build with Reapers which can actually kill Zerg is the proxy Reaper with like 8 depot, 8 barracks, 8 gas, and that build usually beats hatch first, but it like automatically loses if Zerg goes pool first. So I'm not sure if that's a problem. I think Reapers are more of a problem in that it's just so easy to make one and scout everything Zerg is doing for the first like 7 minutes of the game.
You know what, for my part, that's where a lot of my frustrations have come from, too. I feel like a Terran player that opens up Reapers gets, like, absolute map control. And you can't really do anything about it until you have Ling speed. As the pro player, would you comment on that?
Yeah, that's the same way I feel. Like, if they open one Reaper, they can go, like, triple orbital command and whatever they want, and you can't punish them. Because if they're good, the Reaper will scout everything. And you can't kill it until you have Ling speed. So I think that's the biggest issue.
Fuser, what do you think about that that whole line of thought? And don't be, come on, guys, jump in here and interject and have fun with it.
You're finally whining about the Terran can finally scout what Zerg is doing. Like in in Wings of Liberty, Zerg had like a pack overlord spots everywhere, and they're able to prepare against everything. And now Terran is finally able to do something and scout what Zerg is doing without committing too much. And you are telling me it's Imba. I think it's freaking fantastic that you can finally do something.
I guess I don't think that's Imba with the Reapers. I think it's just the best use of Reapers, to use like one to scout everything. I don't think it's that Imba though, but I don't know.
It's certainly frustrating. It forces us to play the game a little bit differently, right? Have you experimented with any like 15 pool, 15 hatch builds? Do you think that might be a safer way to approach the game? Yeah,
I do 15 pool and then hatch after like almost every game now, just because Reapers. And if you drone scout and do a 15 pool, it's actually so funny. If they're doing a proxy Reaper build, you just go 15 pool and then 16 hatch in their main base, and with the 15 hatch in their main base, you can just kill them if they're doing any proxy Reaper.
That's awesome. So, all right, guys, you heard it here first. Moving on from the Reaper opening, when we talk about the mid game in Terran versus Zerg, and Todd, if you have anything that you've seen that you want to jump in with, please feel free. We're just going to talk Terran versus Zerg at first here. When we talk about the mid game, do you feel like, Ghost User, that the mid game is so skewed because of Reaper openings that we can't really talk about it fairly, or do you think we can get into a safe place where we're comfortable and even with Terran no matter what?
I don't think we've had enough games, and I don't think it's developed enough to say for sure, because like the Roach Hydra play is looking so strong, and then I think Ling Muta is also really good. So, and then like Mech and Bio, people are doing about half and half, so it's hard to say like how strong they are in the mid game right now. I think Terran's definitely favored, but I'm not sure how much. And I think most of them being favored is due to Medivac's speed boost more than anything else.
Cool. We're definitely going to hit on Medivac speed boost here in a moment. And guys, if y'all want to jump in at any point, please do as well. But my next question for you, Fuser, is in the vein of the mid game. Since you basically cheese every game, have you played any mid game TVZ?
I played once.
It was horrible.
No, it wasn't horrible. But I really like the mid game. Because you have the Medivac speed, you can actually do something without like losing the Medivac all the time. And because the fungal is not instant, you can actually dodge the bullet with the Medivac speed, and you can drop and have some map vision over there and deny creep and make a Hellbat drop. It's awesome. At the same time, you have the Reaper, so you are able to counter the early pressures like a Roach All-ins and stuff like that with Siege Tank, and because you don't need the Siege mode, it's really fantastic. And the mines are good as well. You can deny expansion with the mines.
We're going to talk about Widow Mines in just a second, but since we brought up the topic of the Medivacs, let's broach it momentarily. One of the frustrating things that I have noticed with the Medivac is a Zerg player can defend some sort of attack or crush a push or put himself into a very good position where he wants to counterattack and maybe do some damage or threaten to win the game. But a Terran player, because of this Medivac speed boost, is able to keep Zerg busy indefinitely with just 1 or 2 Medivacs. Is this a problem, Ghost User?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest thing I'd say about the game. Like, if there's any one thing that would make Terran a lot stronger, it's the speed boost. Because, like you said, it keeps Zerg from counterattacking just because there's 1 or 2 Medivacs. And even if you have Mutalisk, it takes a lot longer to chase them down, especially if there's 2 on different sides of the map. And it makes it like a lot harder to defend any kind of 2-2 timing that every Terran does if they go bio. Because they'll just be usually doing 2 Medivac drops on opposite sides of the map when they push, and it takes a lot longer to clean the Medivacs up. So defending the push is harder because you can't get in position until you defended the Medivacs.
Todd, I know that as a Protoss player, you're probably hating the world every time you see Medivacs with that speed boost. What's your feeling on Medivacs right now?
It's really tough to play against them. I haven't figured the exact way of dealing with them. I think you just need to spread your units out, have your mothership core ready to use for photon overcharge, but it's just really, really difficult overall, because if you can't really go air. If you go Phoenixes, the speed boost makes the Medivacs really fast anyway. There will be Marines inside. The Terran will drop somewhere outside of where it was going to drop in your base, and he can defend like that. So I think just in Heart of the Swarm, if Medivac remain like this, the way they are now, it's just going to take a lot more multitask than Wings of Liberty, and also anticipation, because you're going to need to anticipate every time where your opponent might drop and with how much next. So you're always going to have to scout a lot, and since you can't see everything, at least as Protoss, you can't see much usually because you just get a couple of servers, then Terran scans and kills him. You kind of need to anticipate again where he will drop. So that means you have to leave a couple Templars and Zealots in your main ready to feed back and storm those Medivacs. And that should stop Terran from dropping all the time. But if you bring your entire army in one place, or if you plan on attacking Terran and you don't have units back home, and he drops 1 or 2 Medivac, he's just going to wreck your base and your economy. So yeah, I think it's just going to change the gameplay a lot. In Wings of Liberty, you could just play adaptive, but like kind of on the go. You scout pretty much what you can, and then you go for your composition, and then you play, you adapt from there. But in Heart of the Swarm, you need to play much more reactive, and you need to anticipate a lot more, again, as I said, just in the way that you're going to need to know and guess what your opponent is going to do next, much more than in Wings of Liberty, which was already done at the highest level. But now even in the lower leagues, people are going to have to start doing this more, I feel.
But how is the Terran versus Protoss drop play that made different? If Wings of Liberty made a drop in your base while you were attacking, it's the same situation.
No, it's not at all. Protoss could defend very easily with just a couple
Stalkers.
Stalkers.
Now you just have the Nexus with the Planetary Fortress.
Yeah, but against 2 Medivacs filled with units, this is not going to do much, and you can just pick up and leave every single time before the Medivac will die. Before, you couldn't do that because the Medivacs weren't that fast. So if you dropped in my main, and I had units nearby, I could come and blink. Now I come and blink, and my Stalkers are like, oh man, we're too far, we can't shoot them.
I think we can maybe on some level agree that the Medivac might need to be looked at a little bit, but what is the fair way to change it? Fuser, I'll start this with you. Should the boost cost energy? Does it need to be an upgrade on a tech lab or something? How would you change it, or would you change it at all?
Well, I just think that if it gets nerfed, I think that it will have to get some energy, because if you add a upgrade for the speed, it's really hard to get it with Terran, because you need take lap to the starport and you can't instantly go to the Medivacs with reactor, and it makes game really way slower with Terran aggressions. So I think that just the energy cost of the boost will be perfect if something would ever come.
Mike?
Well, I don't know about the energy cost, because if you do that, like, does it have the same cooldown and you just pay the energy and then you have to wait as long? I think the cooldowns may be a bigger issue, because it's so short. Like, there's like no tactical use of when do I use the cooldown.
It's just you always use it.
It comes back in like 10 seconds. Like, on some of the maps, you can use it like twice while you're flying across the map to their base, and then you still have it ready to get out, like, as soon as it drops the units. Because it's like a 10-second cooldown. I think that might be the bigger issue. I don't know about the energy idea, though. You'd have to look at that and actually try it to see if it works.
What do you think? What do you think, Captain Haterade?
I think as Protoss, if there was the energy thing, it would be great for us because we have feedback. So that will become the official counter of all these drops. But yeah, it wouldn't help Zerg, obviously. They don't have feedback, so we need to find something that really helps everybody.
I want to interject real quick because I strongly feel it should be an upgrade. One of the main things that I see as a problem in PvT is your ability to go to either mass gateway units incorporating High Templars or over to Colossus. I feel like this current style of PvT is really, really difficult. It's more the 2 base going into 3 bases. So you have 2 options for 2 base into 3 base. You can do it and kind of give up a lot of your tech, or you can do it and then give up a lot of your time to actually get the third base. It'll be like 1 or 2 minutes later because you need material on the board to defend against these Medivac drops now. It's no longer, 5 Stalkers can handle a 2 Medivac drop. You need a lot more over there. You need to be defending those positions with your Colossus because they can easily just power boost over and then kill all your Stalkers. If you lose those Stalkers, it actually hemorrhages your upgrades severely, either your upgrades or your tech. So
where would you put the upgrade? Like to the Starport Tech Lab or what building?
I said it should be on the command center. I know it doesn't feel right, but the command center, if you get to, let's say, the Starport Tech, let's say it finishes, maybe it's
then it
160 minutes, or 160 seconds rather. That way that 10-minute, 11, 12-minute timing won't be so freaking strong. But right now I feel like you have to go a lot of Colossus if you're going down that route. You're going to flip a coin if you want to go 1 Colossus, no range, and then High Templars, because they can easily SEV Marine Marauder all in you. And if you're sticking on Colossus for that long, your tech is so far delayed. Normally, your High Templars could catch up with you, and then the Vikings would come out, and then that big all-in that you'd have like 2-1 or 2-2 with a lot of Vikings off of 2 starports isn't going to be as effective. But you can't tech that fast because you have to cover so much position, because you need to make so many Stalkers in the beginning phase, and you can't get that third base. And I feel like that 2 base to 3 base stage is really, really difficult for a lot of Protosses these days.
What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I want to say 2 things. I basically agree with you. To sum it up a lot quicker, I was talking with Naniwa yesterday on Skype, and the moment we were talking about the matchup, we literally said like the exact same thing, hit enter on the same moment. It is just that standard moment. Both players go up to 2 bases, then Terra moves out, let's say with around 2 times of like, maybe it's like 20 to 22 bio units, and then 2 to 4 Medivacs. That is that phase, they walk across the map, they put down their 3rd command center. On that moment, Protoss can never ever drop a 3rd Nexus because there's no way you can defend against Medivac speed boost. So you're gonna have to defend, and even if you defend well, even if you don't take any damage, which is definitely possible on 2 bases with Photon Overcharge, you are fine, but all you basically do is defend, and then the next time you fight, Terran is up 40 supply because they had their 3rd base running much quicker. Yeah. So that's basically what Andre said, but a much simpler version, and I do agree that seems a really tough phase. On the other hand, Todd, I had one question, because you just said feedback would be awesome to kind of like if the Medivac speed boost would cost energy, feedback would be awesome. But don't you think that in a way it would be a little bit less awesome? Because they can kind of like drop the energy of the Medivacs down to like 80 or 70, which makes feedback actually a lot less effective because it's so awesome to feedback those high energy Medivacs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could already do that now by steaming outside of their base. Do you think they do it?
Yeah,
Steaming?
to waste their energy so that they start healing.
Yeah, they could steam so that the Medivac heals, and then drop in doesn't mean they do it. So I guess it will take some skill and more clicks, and it's all about being able to equalize the difficulty of some of the moves in the game, and it just has to be harder. Right now, it's just like you press one button, and this is way too strong, in my opinion.
Get out of jail free card.
I want to say one last thing. I don't like the energy thing because there's going to be so much change in your Medivac count. Normally in Wings of Liberty, you stop at either 2 or 4, depending on how much pressure you're putting on as Protoss, right? Like there's a lot of Colossus all-ins that can go on. So you're stopping 2, 4, then switching to Vikings. Here, there's no reason to stop at 4. Like, I can utilize the positioning of my speed Medivacs. I can get in a perfect surround because I can always just wrap around the army with those Medivacs. That there's really no point in continuing my Viking growth, knowing that they're going to be counterattacked if they moved out, and then the speed Medivacs will be pushed back and surrounded.
You know what we haven't seen yet, which if it is unchanged, what I think is eventually going to be something that is fairly common, is the idea of like mass drop play, because the risk of mass, we call it a doom drop for a reason. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to drop everything in their base. But with the speed boost, it's not as all in as it would have been prior, because you can drop everything, you can kill a ton of tech, and then whoop, you're out of there. So that's something else that I think in the future would become an issue.
I was joking around with some pro players, and I said, why do we care that Protoss has recall when Terran has recall too, man?
Yeah.
Speed boost.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next discussion point, as we can all agree that Medivacs are something that might warrant some further consideration. But let's talk.
Time C.
What? Are you speaking English?
Time C. Yes.
In the
Only
Finland.
tank. No, not rush, not rush.
Does anybody know what he said?
No. I told you we need subtitles for.
Live captioning.
Moving on to another Terran unit that is worth discussion. It's the Widow Mine. And I want to start the discussions very specifically on the topic of Terran versus Zerg. The Widow Mine has become a very strong unit because it does bolster the mech army, and it does some really cool things too. It one-shots a lot of Zerg stuff, and it's also a really annoying I guess, detail when it comes to taking a third base. Terran players have learned, I can burrow a Widow Mine at your third, and you can't take your third until you have layer tech. Mike, I want to start with you because you've probably dealt with this more than any of us. What do you think about the Widow Mine?
I actually think that we should wait longer before we change the mine, because it seems pretty good at first, but there's ways to get around a lot of what it does. Like in fights, if you lead with banelings instead of lings, banelings kill Widow Mines really easily because the Widow Mines don't actually go off until about 1 second after the unit's in range. So banelings can almost always connect with the mines before they kill anything in fights. And you can either take a third usually before they have mines to block the third, or you can just spread creep there on most maps and just move one spore there and take it before lair anyway. So I don't think we should change the mine yet. I think more it's the free siege mode actually that should be taken away, because I don't even know why they got free siege mode to begin with. And you'd be able to you'd be able to punish Widow Mine openers as Zerg if they didn't have free siege mode. But because of siege mode being free, it's so easy for them to get a single tank, and for almost no cost, and barely like 60 seconds or whatever it takes to build a tank, and just defend any attack.
Like a 4 queens.
But
everybody's wondering
yeah,
what the hell he's talking about.
Translate, Gretorp.
Okay, he was saying that siege tanks, they're 45 seconds to come out. 45 seconds, boom, all roach all into are pretty much, I mean, not dead, but they're going to be stopped a little bit easier. Fuser is saying, oh, well, it's the same thing with 4 queens.
Oh, got it. All right, so he's complaining about Wings of Liberty queens.
Yeah.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Mike, I want to ask you a question about an all-in that I played against a couple of times. That's pretty frustrating in my opinion. Standard barracks opening, proxy your factory, make a couple of Widow Mines, add a tech lab. Now you have a siege tank with siege mode on the edge of the Zerg's creep at like 6-7 minutes. Have you seen that, and what do you think about it?
with proxy factory?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen a proxy factory one. I've seen.
Then
like,
you need to get on my level, Mike.
I've seen one base all-ins with tanks and like usually battle hinds instead of mines, but that was before the nerf. I don't think that's much of a problem, at least not with the. I think that's actually not that good because you can kind of pull mines into the Terran units that early in the game because they don't have that many units to support, and I don't think that's a good build either.
Cool. But one question that we do ask that Andre has brought up eloquently is there ever a downside to making Widow mines? And I'm going to put that one to Fuser first.
Yes, if you make too much mines, Zerg can do a roach all-in, which is really strong against mines, because good Zergs will always send out one roach first.
That only works if Terrans are too greedy to build one siege tank.
What is in your hair?
It's a cat.
You're being mean to Fuser.
Why would you just
There's
I saw
something
it.
about Barry, bro. It's hair
Fuser,
jack.
go on. I want to hear what you have to say.
And on late game, mines cost 2 food, which is like a meh. 2 food. I want like 3 siege tanks instead of 2 mines, because in a big fight, like mines are really hard to use against, example, brood lords and so on.
Yeah.
Or ravens instead of mines. So they are good in early game, but in late game they are really useless.
Mines are like one of the things that if Zerg doesn't play against them correctly, like they seem completely imba though. Like I saw 4GG against Rhett like the other day on ladder, and Rhett just went like ling muta bling, but then he just kind of A moved into Terran instead of leading with the banlings. So like the mines just killed everything.
Yeah.
And
That's actually a really frustrating thing. It's not so much that The mine itself is overpowered, but playing Zerg the way that we were used to playing Zerg into mines creates some real headaches. Like I was playing Mutiling Bane the other day, and I just looked away from my Banelings for a second, and I got too close to a mine, and 30 Banelings are dead in one shot. That's really frustrating. What's up, Kev?
I was wondering how Todd is feeling about the Widow Mines, because obviously back in the days everyone was Hellbat dropping when they still could put 4 Hellbats in one Medivac. But from the Protoss point of view, Johan, what are you suffering against from Terran, and how annoying do you think the mines are?
They're pretty difficult to play against. They are very strong overall. Like they move fast, they burrow pretty quickly, and they have a good range. So with Stalkers, you need to be very careful because they will kill Stalkers a lot in one hit. But I feel with Terran, it's just the combination of everything together that makes all of these units really good. For example, I feel like my first Stalker can never leave my base because there is a chance of a Reaper getting in there if I scouted the gas. So it's like a domino effect. From there, I'm basically stuck in my base. I can be aggressive. And then our new units are Stargate units, so you will use the Oracle against Terran, except one mine, again, will kill the Oracle pretty easily. So I don't really feel like I can use Oracles if I see a Terran opening with a quick gas. And remember that rush that hits before 7 minutes with 1 Medivac, a couple Marines, and a couple Hellions in Wings of Liberty. Now Terran can do that with mines in it, and it's just that much stronger. You need detection, you need perfect micro, and Photon Overcharge will help, but not all that much against that. So that's the thing I've been struggling the most against. Yeah, the Reaper making me stay in my base so that I can't go really out. I can't really scout anything. Terran has map control. And then after that attack, I just don't know how to handle it very well. I tried many ways, like leaving my Mothership Core at my expand to purify there. Use Photon Overcharge and leave Stalkers in my main, but then there is always a way Terran can boost the Medivac into your mineral line and burrow the mines. And even if you defend perfectly and move the probes away during the time you take to clean all of these units, the Terran is going for another command center, is making SCVs continuously, whereas your economy is basically stopped for some time. So it's almost always worth it for Terran right now to do this. So mines themselves, I think, I'm almost tempted to say they're okay, I'm not sure. But it's just mines plus Medivacs together, that combo, it just seems very strong to me. So,
Fuser, what do you think?
I think mines are really great in early game against Protoss because they are like you need them against Oracles. Oracles otherwise kill your mineral line faster than 4 Banshees. So it's nice to have a counter against Oracle. And it's nice to have a unit that you can control Stalkers and Zealots and basically everything, but it makes you a lot safer. You
seem to keep saying that you don't see much function for the Widow Mine in the late game.
No, I don't.
But I know that Todd would probably disagree with this, as he's had to deal with the Widow Mine kind of carpet bombs quite a bit. Todd, why don't you talk to us a little bit about late game Widow Mine play?
Yeah, there is not many situations in the late game where they can be good against Protoss, I think, because we will always be heavily upgraded. But I guess one of the ways will be with some Medivacs using boost and dropping inside of the army, just like Baneling bombs, except 10 times faster and deadlier.
Oh, well, when you put it like that, it's not that bad.
The beginning of your statement made it sound like they're terrible, and the end of the statement made it sound like they're ridiculous.
Almost like nukes.
You know, I've been saying this for a while. I always think that the ultimate composition for Protoss versus Terran, especially when you're up against Mech, is Colossus, High Templar, Tempests, and then you sprinkle in some units here and there. But you can really, really like be super cost efficient because the number one thing, if you ever look at a Hasu Ops game, if a Terran attacks into you, it's like, please come into my storms. It's going to be the most beautiful thing. I can have time warp, I can have force fields. Everything is so good for me. And the Tempest basically prod you to do that.
Right.
And then I came across this one game. I've been saying it's like an hour-and-a-half game. And all the guy did to defend was he would send up Hellions or Hellbats and Thors and then just mind drop me everything. And he would kill my Tempest that way. He would have, of course, a couple Vikings sprinkled in. And I thought, wow, that is a really, really cost-efficient way to do it. It's a very supply-efficient as well. I did it on the unit tester like maybe 100 times, and it actually keeps up really nicely.
Okay, cool. Well, that might be something we need to look forward to in the future. We're going to ask one more question about Terran, and then we're going to take a short break before we come back to talk about Zerg. And it is just going to be Mech. When we talk Mech, specifically in Terran versus Zerg. And Mike, I want to kind of start with you here. When you look at the grand scheme of Mech in Heart of the Swarm, you have all the stuff that was already good. You have the faster siege tank, which we already pointed out, which keeps you safer in the early game. And you also have the addition of the Battle Hellion and the Widow Mind. And also we've got some buffs to Secret Missile too. So
And the Thor.
And the Thor. And
is that even a buff?
The Thor buff?
Thor? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It's very helpful.
So the question is very simple. Is Mech a problem for you right now in Heart of the Swarm in its current state?
Go ahead, Michael.
I think he muted himself.
I can help a little bit. It's not a problem for me.
I think Mike has muted his mic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
He
Yeah,
just
right
made some
now,
really
I
great
think-
points. We're never going to hear him.
I think right now that Mech, I'm still dealing with it fine, but none of the Terrans have adjusted to play it even close to as good as they were playing Wings of Liberty Mech yet. They either play Wings of Liberty Mech or do it with some Hellbats and mixed in, but I think it's a lot stronger than Wings of Liberty, and I think it was already pretty good at the end of Wings of Liberty, even though I think Zerg was a bit favored against Terran. I think once Terrans master Mech, it's going to be too good right now.
Fuser.
Right now, I think it's really good in some maps, but some maps like Star Station or whatsoever, where you lot of expansions, it's not as good. But I haven't seen too many Zergs used Fungal and the Viper thing, which is really good. Together, I see
How are you going to use that against Vikings and Thors?
Vikings and Taurus. Easily.
You can still use Vipers, kind of. I think Vipers are the one thing that makes me not positive if Mech's broken. If you don't have Vipers, Mech is completely OP in Heart of the Swarm.
Yes,
'Cause
but
Wings of Liberty is
Zergs are not using the Infestors anymore too much because they link
That's
all
'cause they
their
suck.
nerfs. No, you can still use it with the Viper, Fungal my army and put the Impact Cloud to my army and I can do anything.
But what about Swarm hosts against Mech?
It's really
No.
good in some maps.
It's horrible on all maps.
But how does it work?
Great
panel,
guys. Swarm Hearts can't actually work against Mech unless Terran's building way too many Widow Mines. Because
But what
if
do they have to make against Swarm hosts?
they just keep making tanks, and once you get 14 or 16 tanks, you just push and kill Zerg. Because no matter how many Swarm Hosts you have, once they have 14 or 16 tanks, they unsiege half of them and move forward, and all of your Zerg units just die. I mean, you can back
What
up.
about the Locusts? They will keep coming at them, no?
Yes.
No, I mean, the Locusts keep coming, but they die instantly. They don't even get close enough to kill any units once they have a lot of tanks. I tried Swarm Host a lot of games against Mech, but it works if they build too many mines, or if you just have a good advantage. But if the game is even and they just keep making more and more tanks, you're not going to break them with Swarm Host ever. And once they're maxed, their max is better than your max if you have Swarm Host.
It only works if the tanks are in one position, but maps like Aquilon Waste, the sand map, there you can attack the 3 different positions with the swarm hosts from one spot, like my third, my natural, my fourth, and it's really hard to keep the tanks in, where is the locust coming now?
I mean, but
Hey, you
still,
just
I
see
don't think
them
it's
in
that
natural
good.
And they cover everything.
Yeah, you just siege half your tanks in 2 places, because you have to
No,
make
no,
a lot
but
of...
then I lose stuff every time
But-
the locust come.
Just
I
do
need
harass
every
them.
tank.
Just
Fuser.
do harass with your Invivacs.
Fuser, if on Aquilon Waste, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's right outside the 2 third bases and then the natural.
Yes.
If you're on 4 bases and you have that position gone, you're already behind though.
Yeah.
That position should be taken already. So if a Zerg already has that position, I really feel like you've already lost the game.
I think it kind of leads to a good point about the Swarm Host, which we will hit on more later. When you're ahead, Swarm Hosts are awesome, right? You get that advantage, and you just throw free units at the other guy until he dies.
I think Greg would like to differ on this.
Would you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, when you're ahead, the Swarm Host is almost never a bad choice. against Terran. But if you're like even or behind, I don't think it's ever going to be good to go Swarm Host against Terran now, because it can only work if they play against it badly, I think. Because like one, they're really immobile, and two, you have to build a ton of them to make them actually useful, especially against Terran. Against Frodan, you can get away with like 8 and be fine. But against Terran, against like Bio, they're useless. Against Mech, you have to make like 16 at least. Well, not at least, but about 16 for them to be good against Mech. And it's a huge commitment of money. And I think if Terran plays against them, like not even perfectly, but just very good, then I think the Swarm Host will never actually work against a good Terran.
We're going to come back to the Swarm Host in just 1 minute, guys. I got to move the conversation forward a little bit because we are also sitting on a hard break here. Todd, before we hit this commercial, do you have any opinion on Mech in any of the matchups? Have you played against it as Protoss? Do you have an opinion on it against Zerg?
Yeah, I have. I'm not sure because sometimes it didn't look good, but sometimes it looked really good. I played a couple times against Trelloc, and he made it look really good. I met him recently in the finals of some weekly tournaments, and I barely won with 3-2, and the games were so difficult, and I had a very hard time dealing with it, but I found some interesting things to do against it. Yeah, but overall, I would say I feel like right now, especially on some maps, it's definitely viable, like Akilan Waste, Newkirk City. On those maps, I feel like you can definitely go Mech, because you can take a very quick third as Terran, cover it very well, and then you can hit the timings you want to hit. And yeah, Strelok plays it very well. He was already doing so in Wings of Liberty, but now in Heart of the Swarm, he's found some good builds, some good timings. He get a couple tanks, couple mines, he gets the third command center, and then he pumps out as many units as he can on 5 factories and hits big timings. So I definitely think we're going to see good things from Terran Mech play. But there is also things to be found on the Protoss side.
Cool. Fantastic. All right, guys, we're going to take a very short break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about some of the Zerg units, some of the effects they've had on the metagames, and what it means to Heart of the Swarm's release, which is just around the corner. Don't go anywhere. The Pulse returns after this.